Cinema. It's good to have you guys with us. Next installment, our Best Picture series.
Last installment.
Yeah, it is. We're gonna pivot to some other stuff here.
We're done with 2026 nominees. 2025 nominees.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Then moving on, we got Sean Jordan.
Hi.
Show Joe. And my name's Todd Wofford. T-Woff.
The old T-Woff.
The old T-Woff.
T-Daddy.
We're going to look at Train Dreams, which is a Netflix production. Had a very limited theatrical run, and then it can be viewed now on Netflix. So
surprisingly little to do with trains.
Very little. Yeah, not much.
There are some trains.
Yeah, but I expected something different going into this than what
really
result. Well, yeah, I pictured like somebody riding the railroads or spending more time at least building the railroads than what we see.
Yeah. So, I didn't have a lot of expectations going into this movie.
Maybe somebody dreaming about trains.
Oh, yeah, I could see that. I could see why you might have thought that.
But none of that's a knock on the movie. It wasn't what I expected.
Yeah. So. No, it for sure is a really good movie, not necessarily about trains or dreams.
Yeah. And we are drinking the Marshall Golden Lager, a Tulsa-based easy drinking beer, 4.8% alcohol. Just a nice, sessionable beer.
Smooth going down.
Yeah.
TU is in the NIT. They are in the Final Four, right? Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
Go Canes.
Yeah. So, yeah, I went to the University of Tulsa, my alma mater, and one of the smallest schools in the major conferences or whatever for football and basketball. And so when we make any kind of tournament or go to a bowl game or whatever, any kind of postseason stuff.
I feel like you guys punch above your weight on athletics.
Which is why I do love the school so is that they, we find a way to compete with bigger schools.
Now, how is it that school names themselves after hurricanes when you're in a landlocked state?
Yeah, that's never been firmly worked out. They were originally the Tornadoes.
That makes sense.
And for reasons, I believe that because another school was already called the Tornadoes.
What school?
I don't remember. This is probably a school that doesn't even exist anymore.
Okay.
They were forced to change the name. And so the way I've always interpreted the Golden Hurricane is like sandstorm, dust bowl.
Sure.
Not the typical hurricane, but like the kind of land hurricane. So
Land Hurricane would be a great band name.
Yeah. But yes, I've always interpreted it kind of as a dust bowl, even though this predates a dust bowl, but like basically like a prairie sandstorm.
Does TU predate the Dust Bowl?
It does. I mean, I think.
What year were they founded? Give me the full history of TU.
I can't give you the exact. They were over 100 years old for sure.
Okay.
So
Dust Bowl was what, 33?
Yeah, it was throughout the 30s. So I'm embarrassed to say that I can't say, but I'm gonna look that up right now. So yeah, the University of Tulsa was actually founded in 1894.
1894.
Yeah, it was originally based in Muskogee, Oklahoma, as Henry Kendall College, and it moved to Tulsa and became the University of Tulsa in 1920.
Interesting.
So yeah, there you go.
Do you think it'll move again?
I don't know. It'll be confusing with the name if they go somewhere else.
Probably.
But if you can have Indiana University and Purdue University in Indiana,
yeah,
and
there's a college in Iowa called Cornell College.
Yeah,
not the same as Cornell University.
That's going to be a disappointing admissions process.
Well, actually, it's a pretty good school.
Is it?
I have a friend that went there out of high school.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't do full coursework to where you have like 4 classes simultaneously throughout a semester. They do one class at a time for like 8 weeks. So you do like solid 8 weeks of one class, and then you shift over to another class. So your credits are basically achieved in series and not parallel.
I think I would like that better.
Yeah, it's an interesting model. I'd be interested to see studies on like what's more effective.
I think I would learn more that way.
Yeah, probably.
Keeps you focused.
Or you just forget about it as soon as you're done.
Yeah, 2 or 3 classes later, I wouldn't remember anything from that class. So yeah, doomed either way.
Yeah, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
What do you remember from college?
I remember that Bud Light is worth the extra investment over Keystone Light. Well, everybody swears by Keystone Light, but
I don't know. Keystone Light goes down pretty easy.
I think if you have the money to spend, Bud Light or Miller Lite is worth the investment.
Sure,
that's the main.
Oh, Miller Lite Not for me.
Not for you.
No.
You're not a fan?
Hard pass.
I became a fan later in life. I wasn't in college.
Every college kind of has their own like cheap beer. I think a lot of the Texas schools, it's Lone Star.
Yeah.
Is a pretty good cheap beer.
Yeah.
Keystone Light was definitely our college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that Natty Light kind of has some universal.
Natty Light. Yeah. Yeah.
There are a few beers that communicate the idea of I have no money to spend than Natty Light.
Yep.
That is, my pockets are empty.
Milwaukee Best.
Yeah. The Beast. But yeah, if you can, it's worth it to splurge money for a little bit better beer.
Well, you know what? Now we are older and we are buying a nice artisanal golden lager from Marshall.
Yeah. Yeah. And not for nothing, but the founder of and the namesake of the brewery lived down the hall from me at DU.
Hey, so there you go.
Yeah.
What was he drinking in college?
I don't remember. I mean, he became a big time, as you would guess, a beer.
Yeah, I would hope that he knows his beer backwards and forwards, but I have to assume he was drinking Natty Light. I'm
assuming because Bud Light was kind of our drink in our house, so I'm assuming he was drinking that with the rest of us until he learned better.
Yeah,
he went to Germany and became more knowledgeable about beer.
Yeah,
and came back.
Knows malts and hops.
Yeah. So, but I imagine before that, he's probably drinking Bud Light with the rest of us.
Yeah.
So everybody's got to start somewhere.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere.
So,
you know who else started somewhere? Train Dream.
Exactly. This came out November 7th, 2025. And then, like you said earlier in a previous podcast,
the Netflix model for streaming is put it in theaters for about 2 weeks, get it on streaming as fast as you can.
It's estimated it's made about $10 million at the box office, but it's tough to say because this was released without really the goal of making money in the theaters.
No fanfare at all.
Yeah. So, and then it, like I said, immediately went to Netflix, and that's where it's going to make most of its revenue. Directed by Clint Bentley, co-written with Greg Cuidar, based on the 2011 novella Train Dreams by Dennis Johnson.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is an adaptation of a book.
So if I could put this into log line form, I would say this is kind of a northwestern United States, an everyman's journey across a changing landscape.
Kind of a Washington, Oregonian sort of landscape. And
his struggle to find connection and meaning amidst tragedy in a changing world. So,
yeah.
So this stars Joel Edgerton as Robert Grenier.
Joel Edgerton was very good in this movie.
Oscar worthy.
Yeah, didn't get nominated.
Did not get nominated.
Shame.
Felicity Jones as his wife and soulmate.
She was also very good.
William H. Macy is the old salt who, can talk himself out of working everywhere he goes.
Abe Peoples.
Yeah. Arn Peoples.
Arn Peoples.
Yeah.
Arn Peoples.
And Carrie Condon, who is is the park ranger naturalist who strikes up a brief connection with our hermit, or later on in his life. So yeah, I mean, basically we see him, and also Will Patton is the narrator. He supplies a very grisly, I'm assuming probably passages from the book, supplies a literary narration in the background to put a little bit of poetry to it, to the visuals. But basically, Edgerton's character is kind of he's a classic blue collar, take any job kind of a guy.
A time period. When did this kind of start? So it kind of starts late 1800s, early 1900s?
Pre-World War I, yeah, probably the teens.
Okay, so it kind of starts 1900s, kind of like the 1909, 1908 kind of starting point.
Yeah.
And it kind of wraps around 1960, 70.
Because he sees
the space landing.
Yeah.
Or the moon landing.
Yeah.
Or sees orbit.
Yeah, he sees John Glenn going to orbit.
Okay. Yeah, so you kind of get some time period then.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just see a very... It's a man navigating a time period of his life from start to finish, and it is just beautifully emotional.
And him dealing with that constant uncertainty of doesn't know who his parents are, doesn't know where he came from,
He doesn't know who he is.
And he doesn't know when he's working these jobs of felling trees or doing any of this kind of stuff, like when his number could be up, like when disaster could strike and he could be the next person. He always has that feeling of being doomed. So there's that tension throughout that, that he's not going to survive to the next day.
Well, and very early on in his life, he witnesses basically a murder on the job of like one of the guys who he was working with and didn't, know super well, but it was just an itinerant worker that got killed by somebody.
Racist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he carried that guilt and that just weighed on him all through his life. And you kind of see that play back in multiple parts of his life. He sees the vision of the guy who died. And just,
It's almost like that survivor's guilt of like, could I have done more?
Yeah.
I mean, could that have been me? Was it my time to go and not his? Why did he deserve it?
Yeah. Well, it's very much self-reflective of like, I should have done more. I don't know why he's dead because of, something I could have done or.
Yeah. Could have intervened harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once again, not a lot of therapy back then.
No. And I think it's another reason why people didn't live as long back in those days was they didn't.
The emotional toil.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And there's a great moment later on in the movie where he finally looks at himself in the mirror for the first time in years and is shocked by what he sees, like the age.
Well, yeah, you're a logger from Washington in the early 1900s. You don't have a mirror.
Yeah.
What are you gonna say? What are you trying to do? Make yourself look pretty?
Yeah.
Come on, cut down a tree.
Yeah. And I don't know if we want to give away the central tragedy of the movie, but it definitely has a similar theme to Hamnet.
Yeah, these two movies definitely go hand in hand.
Profound loss.
Yeah.
And that he has to navigate and spends the rest of his life navigating it and trying to make sense of it, but also kind of trying to hold on to hope that it is not what he thinks it is.
Well, and you see that the seasonal arc kind of play its way throughout the movie. That's like a theme of you see him with his wife in the spring and it's beautiful and they're having fun and they're, finding love and building a house together and they love it and they're on the, the banks of a river.
Yeah.
And then summer, he goes off, they have a kid, like yada, yada, yada. And then obviously the tragedy. And then winter, deep winter, toward the third act is just, it's all cold and crunchy and barren.
Yeah.
I think that was a really well done theme, just a good motif, if you will.
And it ties back into, the William H. Macy who at one point looks around and it's all beautiful, all of it, without really knowing what he's saying. And the Edgerton character not really being able to make sense of it. But that's kind of the theme of the movie is.
Yeah, this old man's talking nonsense because he got hit on the head by a tree.
Yeah. But, in the end, it makes sense. It's all poetic in its own way.
Well, and I think that's this whole movie it's all the poetry of it is you might bear witness to that poetry at a different time in your life and it means something different to you. Or, he's witnessing William H. Macy's character in the later years of his life being this old man who's out of place, out of time, and just trying to find, meaning in his own life. And then he suddenly gets, hit by a tree and spoilers, he dies. And he's talking about what it means to him to be around this nature and what nature means to him. And then he becomes the old man kind of in this crew of loggers. And he's like, says to another guy, he's like, did we used to be like that? Like, were we like these young guys who were just assholes on these crews? Like, or am I just old now and I just, view it differently than I did then? Or are these people different? Like, what does it mean to age and to witness myself growing older?
Yeah.
In a world that's changing around me.
Yeah, to witness the world changing and you changing within it in ways that you can't really make sense sometimes out of either. So what did you think? What would you score it?
I honestly give this movie a 10. This is a straight up 10 out of 10 movie for me. My barometer for what kind of peaks a movie from a 9 to a 10 or like an 8 to a 10 is always does it leave me feeling some type of emotion that I wouldn't have felt otherwise? And watching the end of this movie it's just like this quietly beautiful, emotional scene of him in his later years riding in an airplane, and then it just kind of ends.
Yeah.
And I was awestruck by the end of the movie, just kind of sitting on the couch like, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was just so well crafted and just like made in a way that just it's not tear jerking, and it's not like a overly like emotional appeal. It's just this like quietly emotional, quietly beautiful resolution to a life. And it asks these emotional questions of like, what does it mean to you to grow old? What is it like? What is your purpose and your place here in this world? And it just, I don't know. It sat with me just so well at the end that I agree. I was awestruck.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, he has that revelation in the plane that William H. Macy had early in the movie of like, it's everything around.
It's all beautiful.
Yeah. And even though what he's seeing, as he says in the movie, it's like, it's this crazy, formless circling and diving, and, it doesn't make sense, but, you have to just enjoy what's happening around you, even if you can't necessarily make sense of it.
Well, and his character this whole time is not like he doesn't have main character energy, right? He's very much just like a
passive character,
a guy who's super introspective. He's just not even super introspective. He just like, he doesn't talk to other people. Mm-hmm. He is a hermit in the woods, and he doesn't, have a lot of connection, and he doesn't have a lot of people to talk to, and you don't get a lot of dialogue out of him.
Yeah.
Because his wife and his child died. He is just so devastated by that, but he meets someone in his later years that it's not even romantic. It's just he has someone else who understands his loss, and he has someone he can have a conversation with.
Yeah.
And she doesn't necessarily understand him, but just is there to talk to, and kind of has that same sort of standoffishness, and
she can validate his feelings.
Yeah.
He's like, am I crazy? And it's like, well, there is no crazy when you deal with stuff like what we've gone through,
Yeah. He's like, I sometimes I hear them, and I don't want to look for them at the risk that it might make their voices go away. And I'm too scared to look for them because it'll make me lose them. And she's like, yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it was great. Like you say, so you give this a 10.
Yeah. I just want to give him a hug, man.
Yeah. Yeah. But it kind of breaks the rule of like the film school screenwriting rule of, when you create a protagonist, your protagonist has to drive the plot. Your protagonist has to be, again, if you go by the rules that some professor is going to tell you, your protagonist should be the engine of your story. Like everything they should do the things that drive the movie.
Well, and that's what this movie is so antithetical to everything else that it just feels different.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And so, yeah, he kind of lets the world like happen around him and experience. He's an everyman in that way, that he experiences the world, but he doesn't necessarily, he's not a man of action. He's content to show up and work, go where the work is, do what he has to do, and kind of keep his mouth shut and go through the day.
Yeah, he's not out here like changing the world and making it better. He's just living.
Yeah. And that's kind of what defines him. That's what, makes him an interesting character.
It's the German idea of Sonder, that idea of like, there are other people in the world who are all experiencing their own lives with unique experiences and perspectives on everything. Mm-hmm. Just seeing this slice of his life from his perspective of like, okay, he's not a super impressive like hero.
Yeah.
He is just a character that experiences things, and you get to witness him experiencing life.
Well, it's like they say, most men, the expression like most men lead lives of quiet desperation. That I think that defines him pretty well.
Yeah.
So
who said that? Did you say that?
That's an expression that's
been around. Is that a you quote?
That's not a me. That's been around for a while.
Is that Travis? Did Travis say that?
We'll have to find the origin of that, but that's been around for a while. So yeah, I would give this a solid 9.
Yeah.
For me.
What would tip it from a 9 to a 10?
I don't know. 10 is always difficult for me to define. It's the classic thing of like, so I forget who said this about pornography, but like, I can't define it, but I know it when I see it.
Is that Clarence Thomas?
I hope he didn't.
He was a Supreme Court judge for sure.
Yeah. No, I can't attribute anything clever to him.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, it's like a 10 is difficult to find, but I know I've experienced a 10 when I'm watching it.
Yeah.
So and I mean, a 9 is awesome. If you read my reviews, a 9 is rare. So I would give this a solid 9. It was, like you said, it was a surprisingly emotional experience to watch. This movie and the previous movie, Hamnet, would be a good companion.
Yeah, the two, they fit well into each other. Yeah. They both deal with like that heavy emotional loss. They both kind of have like those undertones or those themes of just quiet emotion in like a beautiful kind of bucolic, very heavily, densely forested set.
Yeah. Definitely a heavy going duo to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a depressing back-to-back.
Yeah. So maybe you need like something funnier for like a.
Yeah. I had to watch like something cheerful. Yeah. For like 20 minutes
you might need a palate cleanser, like a Holy Grail Monty Python kind.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would.
Which is also in a densely wooded area.
Dickus. Do a History of the World Part 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Part 1.
I'd even say Life of Brian if you can get to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, great act. I mean, a lot of the same attributes that we could put to Hamnet also apply to this one, like great acting. Top to bottom.
So what accolades did this get other than a Best Picture nomination?
So this was nominated for 4 Academy Awards. Best Picture, Adapted Screenplay, Cinematography, and Best Original Song.
And it won none of them?
None of them.
Fuck.
So 95% fresh Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, it should be 100%.
That's a rough 5% that gave this a thumbs down.
Yeah, 5% watched this. They don't have souls.
That's a rough crowd.
Yeah. They were looking for the Emoji Movie.
Yeah, they were looking for. Yeah, they were looking for Jack and Jill. Adam Sandler.
This movie's dumb.
Yeah, we're 8 Crazy Nights.
Where's the poop emoji?
Yeah, shit. Yeah. But yeah, beautiful cinematography. Again, great music. I love the music. I love Nick Cave's song on the closing credits.
Yeah.
Train Dreams. It was, it fit the tone of the movie perfectly. William H. Macy was great as the
surprise cameo. I did not expect to see William H. Macy be like a multiple scene character that like kind of stole all of his scenes that he had
and greatly affected the plot of the movie too.
Yeah,
stuck with the main character a lot. So. I remember, I don't know where, I think Roger Ebert got the quote from Oscar Wilde of like, some characters are meant to just show up and swell the progress of the movie for a scene or two. And that was William H. Macy. He showed up and progressed the movie, in an emotional way for a scene or two and then moved on.
Yeah. And this movie doesn't have a lot of like plot momentum. Like there's not a lot of plot to be momentumed.
It floats along.
It just, it floats along and it ages and it just kind of matures.
It's been compared to the movies of Terrence Malick, who directed, I don't know if you saw Thin Red Line,
no,
the war movie, Days of Heaven, Tree of Life. His movies are very, almost dreamlike in the way they progress. They're almost like they feel otherworldly in their tone and pacing. This movie kind of has that that feel to it. It kind of glides along from one scene to the next without any firm structure to it. So, but I enjoyed that about it. That was one thing that I liked about it. It sets it apart from a lot of the other movies you'd watch.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So you're a 9. I'm a 10.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we've this is the end of our Best Picture series, we know who won Best Picture.
Mm-hmm.
Of the movies we watched and reviewed, do you think they got it right?
I think so. I enjoyed One Battle After Another, and like I said, I want to go back and watch it again.
Yeah.
So
I really enjoyed One Battle After Another. It's a very different movie.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think One Battle After Another is the right call. Sinners, I think, could definitely have gotten it, but we know how the Academy is with horror movies.
Yeah.
And they were never going to give a horror movie a Best Picture.
Never.
I think Train Dreams really, I think, would have been up there for me.
It would have been a great, like, dark horse win.
Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely does not fit the Academy's mold of what they give awards to.
Well, neither does Sinners. And I think Sinners would have been probably my top pick, dark horse, over One Battle After Another. There were a few movies we didn't do.
No. Maybe we can circle back.
Yeah, I do want to go back and watch, who won? I'm blanking on the movie. So what were the other nominees that we didn't get to?
We'll have to look that up.
The Secret Agent. That was the movie I was trying to think of.
Okay,
that's the one I want to go back and watch.
Yeah.
We didn't get to that one. We didn't get to Sentimental Value.
Let's put those on the list.
But we did One Battle After Another, Secret Agent, Begonia, Marty Supreme. We didn't do Marty Supreme. Train Dreams, F1, Sinners, Frankenstein, Hamnet, Sentimental Value. So those are the Best Picture noms.
Yeah, we'll put those on the list. Like as I was saying off the air, I definitely want to go and do Wag the Dog just for timely purposes.
Sure.
It feels too relevant.
Oh, what's timely about it?
Just set in the 90s, political satire about these political operatives and Hollywood producers who go hand in hand to basically take the focus off of the president in scandal by creating a fake war with Albania.
No, I don't. What's timely about it?
It's weird because it feels so incredibly
prescient.
Yes.
Yeah.
They had no idea what they were making when they made it, that this would be our lives someday.
They knew.
Yeah.
They knew.
Smart people.
Smart people making movies.
Mm-hmm. Making movies. But yeah, we're going to do that next. Wag the Dog.
All right. So, you were a 9. I was a 10. Train Dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Great movie. Honestly, very enjoyable movie.
Mm-hmm. I'd recommend
in like a sad way.
Yeah. It's something you want to see. And I mean, like Travis says, it's good weather. Like watch this on a Saturday afternoon with the rain coming down outside.
Yeah. Yeah. No, a friend of mine, we used to talk about how sometimes for like emotional release, she would watch like Ellen videos, like Ellen, sad videos of like giving just a car to like a teacher who, lost her house in a fire or something, like those types of videos, or like puppies and stuff like that. Things that like make you happy cry.
Yeah.
Just to like burp the jar is the metaphor, is like you have that jar of like emotions that you just haven't quite addressed. And then you just sort of burp the lid a little bit, let a little out.
Yeah.
Yeah. This movie burps the jar.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
In unexpected ways.
Yeah.
So
it's beautiful. It's emotional. It's quiet.
So check out Train Dreams on Netflix.
Yep.
And you won't be sorry. So another episode of Cinema Vino. It's come and gone. Sean Jordan.
Hey.
SJ.
Yep, that's me.
TW. Great movies, only drunker. And we will see you guys next time for Wag the Dog.
Go Canes.
Go Cane.
Go Cane.
Yeah. Rain Cane.
Rain Cane.